Okay, I have to stop the share, right? Give me a minute. I have to stop the share. Let me stop the share. Come on. Close this. Stop share. Yes. Stop the share.
Just 1 second, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Take time.
It's loading.
How are you, Santosh?
Yeah, I'm a little bit sick.
I know, I haven't heard your voice since I think couple of classes, right?
Yeah.
You were
We are
kind of
recovering
giving a back.
from COVID.
I know. We discussed that. And there are, these weakness creeps down to you for, at least a week or
Yeah.
so. So it's
Very
basically a
much.
bit of challenge there. I can understand.
Pain, weakness, and the tongue taste is very bad.
Yeah, I know. It goes on for a week or so. I have quite a few
Yes.
medical professionals in our family. So,
Don't get any taste, that is a bad thing. You
it's
eat
a,
anything, even you eat sugar, you don't get taste.
no, yeah.
I do
And this
agree.
happens with a normal flu also. Means if you have viral flu, you'll lose your taste of, tongue for around a couple of days. So it's
Can we
happened.
see?
And, the meditations are really, you'd say heavy in terms of corona because they want to build your immune. They don't know, right? They don't know how your body will react. So there are a couple of permutation combinations they apply to you and whatever fits the need. So, it'll basically does the trick and you're out of corona. That's how the whole scenario is right now. So everybody playing in dark. I believe Russia is the
Can you
most,
see the?
have the strongest position
Can you
as
see
far
the?
as corona goes. They have at least, some kind of meditation which they say they have passed, working on 95% and all. But all the other are, just playing around in the dark. ये चिले का देख हल्दी का दूध नीम का गर्म
Yes,
पानी
yes.
what all
Some home remedies and vitamin
yeah,
C.
that's true.
Yeah.
Hero.
So this is a I have made on parking management system because I couldn't make on attendance enhancement
No,
system.
that's okay. See, we are trying to share our vision, right? Share our solution giving capabilities to
Yeah,
everybody. So
because
whenever you're able to explain, you're able to pass on the thought process that's the need basically. Then we're going to learn about the layers, architecture, patterns. We can learn later on, no problem. And
yeah,
once you learn the QA/QC, you'll get a clear idea how everything relates to the testing, how everything relates to the reviews, and the traceability part of it.
yeah. I felt this is the easiest rather than attendance management system. Everything almost you have explained in your diagram. So
Right?
I made on parking management system.
No problem. Let me check out if I can, get that image via my WhatsApp. Means that's also another thing. It means I can put it and can just explain. We can do that also.
Yeah, is
Let me.
there?
Yeah, is there,
Is
sir?
there?
Can
Is
anyone
there?
see or yeah?
Yeah, we can see, right? Yeah. Could you please explain what you tried to do?
Yeah, so basically, car parking is a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
Major problem in big cities. We know there are huge parking areas or parking management systems of
Right.
shopping mall parking, multiple parking, multiplex parking,
Mm-hmm.
airport parking, hospitals, companies and factories, and 5-star, 7-star hotels, motels like big
Right.
universities and colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So in such places, there is a lot of parking space is needed, but people face a lot of issues in these crowded area. So
Mm-hmm.
people faces these problems like lack
Mm-hmm.
of sufficient parking space, too much traffic issues,
Mm-hmm.
parking spaces are far away from our destination.
Right.
Somewhere people charges high parking tariffs and for park the car we must prevent excessive times, noise, and air pollution. So similarly, in big parking management, such problems are faced.
Right.
So we have some suggestions on these problems, like we can um, multi-level car parking, where
Right.
there are a number of floors or levels for car parking.
Mm-hmm.
Electronic car parking, it's
Mm-hmm.
automated car parking on multi-levels to maximize the number of parking space uh, in minimum land uses. Like,
Right.
yeah, the similarly lift parking system is and use of mechanization.
Mm-hmm.
Uses of mechanization, it means
Robotic parking. Right.
yeah,
Really
stacking
robots.
where one car elevated above the other car, or
Right.
automated, like where driver deposits their car, auto
Mm-hmm.
machine collects and stores in racking system.
That's right.
And last, increase on street or curbside parking areas. So
Mm-hmm.
these suggestions, we with these suggestions we can
Mm-hmm.
enhance our parking management system.
Right.
So
Okay, again
that's
I
what
said there's
I
no
can.
there's no right or wrong here. The
Mhm.
thing is that you're concentrating more on problems and less on suggestions. Could you see
Okay.
that? Means I'm just trying to share my thoughts on this. Again, there's no
Yes.
right or wrong. You explained it really well. You are hitting the nail. Only thing is that the way you explain, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as the diagram goes, you're more concentrated on problem than suggestions. I'm trying to present my solution, right?
Okay.
As a
Mm-hmm.
business analyst, I am giving the solution. So I might concentrate more on what are the solution I am trying to give, and that's what the overall drawing is all about. So
Yes.
this is okay, means you understood the problem very well, that this diagram clearly depicts that. So but now I'm trying to move to a solution area. As a business analyst, I try to present my solution. So I might have done some image of parking, or might have shown something like latest parking available technologies, like you said automatic parking, robotic parking, and so on and so forth. Those kind of things. So again, there's no right or wrong. This is just a suggestion coming from me, being a bit of in this area for a bit longer years. So that's what I'm trying to share this thing. Don't feel bad, really great efforts. And we are doing really good in terms of, at least you could plot down your idea. You can really jot down the solutions basically. And
Mm-hmm.
as I can clearly see, you can explain this thing for half an hour. And it's really great. Means the problem, the solutions, right? Only on this image, you need to describe more solutions, less problem. But it's okay, no problem.
Yes.
This is how we evolve, right? This is how we
Right.
learn.
Right.
Yeah, so don't worry. It's really great effort. Thanks to you.
Thank
It's
you
it's
so much.
really great.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to go? Even image like this is more than sufficient for our explanation. And this is how we learn, right? We try, we learn. And this is really important for each of us. So thanks to Revati, because she at least put in some efforts, and we could able to discuss this. And now the next drawing she will do, it will be much more efficient, much more to the point. So it's really important. You should try, spend some half an hour, and something like that sort, whatever time you require. Even you can do this thing before sleep, or whenever you have time. Means I don't know to go to into those specific. So please, if anybody else has a drawing or anything, could you please explain that? That will be great help. Anybody want to go ahead? Okay, I'll start my share. No problem. Thanks, Revati. Thanks a lot. It's really great. uh,
We can do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll make it maybe
yeah,
tonight.
sure, definitely.
Okay.
This is this is really a kind of need of the hour, or I'll say this is really what we should do, because this will help us as an BA whenever we start working.
Yeah. Today
And
was
even if during discussions, like whenever you go to State Farm office and trying to understand their requirement, if you draw HLD and show it to them, it really hits the nail, because then it shows you know your job, you know what to do, how to go about it. Because this is the image which comes to my mind whenever I think of a solution, right? If you see, I try to give more weightage to the solutions and less to the problem. But this is a normal mistake. Don't worry about that. You know, and as I said, this is my thought process, this is your thought process, so it might differ from a number of people, and a number of people have their suggestions, because they have their own angle of thinking, they have their own way of representing or articulating their thoughts. So it depends. So don't, there's no right or wrong. It's really great effort. Thanks to you. Okay, so let's
Thank you
go
so
ahead.
much, sir.
And
Because of
I
that,
would
we
really
also,
request everybody, sorry, please go ahead. Somebody want to speak?
no, thanks to you, sir. Just because of that, we also got to know that we need to focus on solutions more than
Right,
problems. That's
exactly.
also an important part of that.
Yeah. And we have to do so in our life as well, in general. Means that's what the BA is all about. BA is, you're not learning anything specific in terms of technology. This is how we articulate our thoughts, right? The use case, you see it that way. We are just articulating the thoughts, the sequence of events on a plain paper, or whatever tools we have. So BA is more about bringing the actuality, bringing or explaining our thoughts to take you to the solutions part of it. So that's really best part of BA. So we should enjoy this, right? And we should do it. We do beat something like, you create some issues, you might thinking in different line, you might not know the technical terms. That's okay, and that's how we learn. If you don't try, you'll not learn, believe me. This is how we should go ahead. So just एक बार पानी में जंप मार के तो देखो क्या होता है. डूब तो नहीं जाओगे यार, क्योंकि बहुत लोग बचाने को है. Something like that sort. So something, try to put in some effort, and that's how we learn. And that's my humble request. So next time I want all of us basically try to present, and it's a simple diagram. You don't have to be artistic, you don't have to be too much thinker or something like that. Just try to provide a solution. Take any problem you ever find a solution, and try to jot it down on pen and paper, right? So let's go ahead. I like to share a video with you about the entire thing. See, this is again, really great mumbo jumbos, which we need to, we need to understand in terms of how we can improve our thought process, right? We talked about this entire, and those things. So let's try to understand from this great guy. It's one of the, older video. We try to understand how the architecture, will work, how we label the architecture types and all. So let's try to understand from this guy. It's a very small video.
Hi there, this is Scott Duffy from softwarearchitect.ca, and I want to address sort of one of those fundamental questions that comes up from time to time. What is an N-tier architecture? It's kind of a funny term, and maybe if you haven't encountered it before, it isn't intuitive exactly what it means. The N in N-tier architecture just represents any number. Okay, sometimes it's called a 3-tier architecture or a 2-tier architecture. But the N-tier architecture means it can be any number of tiers. Now, what's a tier? A tier in software architecture is a boundary between a layer of the application. So you've got the presentation layer, you can have a business layer, and you can have the data layer. And those are 3 layers of a 3-tier application. Oftentimes, the data layer is actually a database, and it has maybe stored procedures that run inside the database, and that's considered its own tier. And so the business objects tier, the center tier, is a backend process that runs on a server that allows your front end to talk to a database. It's considered bad programming practice in modern development to have your front end application talking direct to the database, because that traps you into so many ways, and it also introduces some security vulnerabilities, especially if your front end is running on a client's computer, or it's a website and it's written in JavaScript or HTML. Having a JavaScript program right directly to the database would be terrible. So oftentimes you see minimum 3 tiers. There is such a thing as a 4-tier or 5-tier application. How does that work? So I've worked in companies that split their business tier into 2 separate tiers. What you have is the business layer, and then you have a data access layer. That's written in code. That can be, there are things like Microsoft does have an enterprise library that does come with data access block.
Again, these are the really great words. if we could use whenever we're communicating our representation, it'll help a lot, right? But this again, you're trying to represent the solution, right? And the solution can be devised into so many logical architecture. This doesn't mean that programmatically or the solution wise every tier is independent. It can overlap. There are gray areas. This is the thought process representation. This is not the actual physical segregation, right? So we need to understand this tier architecture or layered architecture. So again, this is how we represent our solution, and this is the most technical terms which we're going to use as an BA, right? You will get there, believe me. And the way I look at it, within 6 months time, you'll be able to explain how these guys is explaining right now. That's why I want to put this video. I want you to listen and try to understand. I'll not say you'll understand each and everything, but this is how overall the top BA, the top architect explain the logical or vision of their solution. So it's really coming up good. We need to understand this terminology and try to speak here whenever you speak in terms of solution giving, you speak in terms of the vision you're sharing with others. Okay, just have a look at this video.
But you can write code that simply interfaces with a database. You can call a method. It does one thing, returns the results to the caller. But the business layer contains the business logic. So basically, an N-tier architecture is a software program divided into tiers. The front end, the presentation tier, could be the web development, could be a mobile app, could be running on your desktop, business tier running on a server, and the data tier oftentimes running inside of a database. That's an N-tier architecture. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about architecture, leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to get to them. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Okay, so does anybody have any question? I know, again, there are lots of really big words. We don't want to start using it right as of today, but just to understand how the representation of a solution occurs. And then that's kind of again a learning from us as an BA to be an experienced BA. To start with, you don't need to understand these, and you don't need to basically depict in layers as well. Your solution is just a simple solution, a pictorial representation. I just want to stress to understand HLD and LLD again. So I'll repeat this thing. We had kind of had a good look yesterday also, but I just want to repeat again. So bear with me on this and try to understand how we as an BA present our solution in HLD and how it reflects to the actual solution in LLD. So HLD is my high level diagram, LLD is low level diagram or low level design. So D can be represented as a diagram or a design, the way you want it. These terminology may differ. There's no exact science. We are talking about art of representing our thoughts into a diagram. And normally it's just a single diagram as far as HLD go. LLD normally represent each and every of those box, whatever you represented as a solution. So the solution which we create, be in terms of where the team I am working as an BA with, right? It can be a team of 20 people, it can be a team of 100 people, it can be a team of 3 or 4 BA, it can be a team of single BA working with the other architects. Depends on domain, depends on the complexity, depends on how well you articulate. To start with, whenever you want to start a job, you will work with a team of BA, business business analyst. So you will have somebody who could really draw HLD well. Well, you might report to something like senior business analyst who draw these things. So you just watch and learn. If you couldn't learn right now, but the way I'm saying it, you could be easily start as a senior business architect if you can throw in these words during the interview, right? We are there to help you. We are there to help you on job as well. But just if you could relate these words whenever you're speaking, could bring these words in your discussions, it'll be really elevated the thought process you're going to represent. It'll elevate your overall knowledge of the business analyst. That's how the whole thing, looks, and that's why I'm sharing these mumbo jumbos with you. Okay. So again, HLD, overall architecture of the application and network design, as well as the relationship between various systems, module, and functions. So HLD talks about my solution, interaction with the other system available at my client place, like State Farm, right? We have talked about attendance management, enhancement in attendance management system, interaction with SAP, interaction with clouds, and so on and so forth. There are certain systems which I supply with my solution, like cloud, right? So I can also deploy on their cloud, means the cloud which State Farm has. It depends, and this is how I represent my solution, right? If I'm going to use the cloud on State Farm, I might do something like where's the cloud thing? Oh, I have removed that cloud part. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll go to insert, I'll go here, I'll try to which can depict cloud. इसमें से कुछ भी ले लेते.
You note down in solutions, last one.
Right. So yeah, this looks more like cloud, right? So this is cloud. So if I'm using, okay, let's give it a blue color, because cloud is normally blue, right? I'm giving it blue color, and this is called transparency. So you make transparency 80%. Could you see what's happening? Means just try to watch. See, it become transparent. Still you have a color to it, but it become transparent, right? And then I'll just make it big. This is cloud, and what I'll say, I'll I have to label it. So what I'll do, I'll insert this thing. It's called text box. So I'll put it here. I'll put it as a STAT state RM CLOUD cloud SERVERS. State Farm cloud service. So this means that I'm assuming I'll deploy on State Farm's cloud servers. Okay, this doesn't look good. So let me try, and I think this looks pretty good, right? So this is how it depicted. So now, and I can do something like, I can click this, bring it to front. I'm also trying to show you how the word can, fill in the needs, right? Means how I can use the word in the best, again, I need to bring this thing to front. Where's that? Oh, bring to front. Okay. Now the cloud have gone behind this, diagram depiction. Bring to front. Could you see how easy it is? Just click, and it works basically. Come on. Okay. See, could you imagine the cloud going behind? Cloud is just a depiction. It's not actual cloud. It's basically the actual server where you deploy. So that's why I say State Farm cloud server. I can also write deployment here. Right. So if you key in this terminology in your diagram, the other party or the reviewer will understand, man, this this BA knows what he or she is doing, and he could really relate the solutions to be deployed on the State Farm cloud deployment, and this saves the revenue or the cost of the solution, which can kind of reducing by using the State Farm cloud server, because I'm using whatever there is in existence, right? So Infosys, as my organizations, the solution providing technical partner organization, reduce the cost of the solution, and this really affects the overall return on investment type of mass, which CIO, CTO normally talks about. This way, you are improvising the solution in technical terminology. So just mentioning this diagram, just improving this diagram a little, can tweak the solution in a great way. You can improve the solution to the next level. This is how the BA works. This is how the BA work is really visible across the client as well as your organizations, right? So be into that chair, be it a kind of a person everybody likes, try to learn these things, and it will really change your life. You'll be one of the most noticeable personality and most appreciated resource. if you could do it well. And this is what the BA is all about. So let's try to enjoy our life. Let's do, learn something. Let's try to put in some efforts right now so that we could leverage these, job executions up to a great extent. Okay, now let's move to, now we understood HLD, right? Now LLD, whatever that cloud I have just, included in the diagram can be a separate box or separate diagram in LLD. So what will be there in LLD? We'll mention there's a, Google Cloud which State Farm is using. So I'll try to locate, their service provider. I'll contact them. I'll request them to create a specific area in the cloud for us. It can be called as virtual private server, VPS, or a shared repository, so SRDS and something like that sort. So we'll learn about those mumbo jumbos afterwards, but I have to request to the cloud service provider on behalf of State Farm. So there'll be a small process itself. There'll be a small part of that execution required in my LLD, because LLD talks about singular execution, single request, single addition to the whole solution, right? We talked about single program. So these requests, this communication and the acknowledgement and the reply are normally shown in LLD, low level diagram, which you will clearly see. You just put a cloud behind the diagram, which resulted in updating those LLD as a sequential execution. So your thoughts had been converted to a solution, right? Could you imagine that? Anybody have any questions, or am I talking too technical? Could you relate to what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, we are trying to connect. It's a little bit technical. So.
Okay, but am I audible, right? Means you could relate to certain terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great, no problem. How about you, Rudra?
I understand.
Okay,
Give
yes,
me
right.
example.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm basically trying to understand from you. If you understood, it's really good. I can go ahead, right? So that way. Sheetal, could you understand?
Yeah, unable to connect, but
Okay, great, no problem. I know there could be some difficulties because we are learning together. We are really trying to put in our thoughts, and that's the best part of it. Pavni, do you want to say anything?
Yes, actually, for HLD, it takes a couple of what you said that solutions implement. It takes too many steps, but LLD takes a single step for that, right? You said
Yes, HLD is a group of
group.
total
Yes,
solution I am trying to represent. LLD
okay,
is a
yes,
singular part. So if I
single.
have,
Yeah,
let's
single
say,
one.
in let me go again over here in this image, as we can see. Come on, a 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4.
three.
So there are 4 different conceptual box I have included, right? Or
Yes, for
logical box
HLD.
of
Yeah, for HLD.
for in HLD.
In HLD, okay,
Right.
okay, in HLD,
HLD
okay.
is a high level diagram or high level,
Yes,
design, whatever you want to call
design.
it. Okay.
Okay.
These words are, used otherwise. So, you don't have to be really specific on that. So those things. So wherever you're trying to depict each of these scenes, I need to develop independent system. If not independent, at least a part of a system. So for each of these, or rather for each of these things, each of these entities also, I have separate LLD. It's called low level diagram. So how to
Oh, okay.
implement iris scanners, there'll be
Okay.
another block in the low level diagram where
Low level okay.
so few of those technical guys, the development team will work on that thing. So how to look at the alerts? So alerts need something to be generated automatically, right? I've just said a word alerts here. So how alert works? Somebody in my backend database says if these things happen, you need to send an alert to these screens. So
Okay.
whenever somebody clicks submit login, so there'll be an alert saying login successful, login unsuccessful. These are the alerts, right? Even in
Yes.
mobile we get alerts,
Yes. Yes.
right?
If
Login
something happened
successful.
in around us, we get the alerts, right? Yes.
Perfectly. Leave approved. This is a
Leave
simple thing, but to get that alert on your mobile, there is almost 6 to 7 microservices get triggered. We had a look at microservices, right? These are single calls, go across these layers, grow across these, different entities in the in an application, right? Let's not go into the number of entities and number of replies. Just try to check out what I need. I need alerts, so I'll include those alerts in my HLD. Now that alerts can depict 4-5 logical box in LLD as well, so it can happen. But I want to stress the importance of one small change in HLD can be reflected to many changes in LLD, right? So those things which I want to stress right now. I believe you understood that, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great, no problem. Sure. So yeah, so we were here. And yeah, HLD is normally during the discussions, during the envisioning space, envisioning time of the solution. So whenever you're thinking about the solution, you're trying to build the solution in thoughts, you create HLD. LLD, whenever you try to develop, where the development team, designing team, operation team, and implementers relate to the actual deployment of the solution, actual deployment of that ID scanner, actual deployment of that alert, they'll look at LLD. But the alerts can be depicted in HLD means so many things in the background which are approved, which are visioned by the client as well as my development team, and relate to such so many reflection in LLDs. Okay, so HLD is just a summarization of the solution in one diagram. There could be a couple of diagrams for HLD as well. Nobody limits you to depict your thought process in 6 diagrams. That's fine. But normally HLD is a single diagram. If the architecture is not complex, I can have HLD for one part of system as well. But normally it's a generic convention that HLD is a single diagram for a single solution or single element of a solution if it's too complex, and this can reflect to many LLDs. The target audience for HLDs are designers, reviewers, management team, of course the client management team as well, program and solution teams. These come later whenever that diagram or the SRS got approved, right? And yes, the main idea of HLD is required to understand the flow across various system entities. So wherever my attendance management system enhancement is going to fit in the client's area, client's environment, is what the main depiction of HLD, main inference of HLD, and the major functionalities. Okay, so where this solution sits and what are the major function of the solution, these are the two things addressed by HLD. And this is a thought process, this is a visioning process, this is a vision solution to the business problem. That's the major idea of HLD, right? LLD, the main idea is actually building the product, going to the nth level entity, going to the smallest possible entity, which shouldn't be missed out whenever you constructing it. So LLD is much detailed description of HLD with each and every element explained in depth, so that all the implementers, all the developers, or the creators, they will think, they will list down what are the things they need to do, they need to perform to get the solution working, right? Have you got the idea what to how this HLD and LLD differs?
Yeah.
Great. There's another slide just to stress it more. So goal of HLD converts the business requirement to high level solution. HLD is high level diagram, high level solution. Goal of LLD converts a high level solution to detailed solution. So LLD is based on HLD, and we just trying to explain what each and every line, each and every box, conceptual blocks in HLD represent in the actual solution, which is being created, which is being deployed, which is being tested, and so on and so forth, right? So those things are new. So chronology created first, naturally, because HLD is a business solution to the business problem, done by the business analyst, included in SRS, system requirement specification. So this is a envisioning process. This is a thought process which I am creating a solution as an architect, as a business analyst, right? And as far as chronology of LLD goes, creates a high level design documents like functional specification, right? And there are other documents as well where LLD gets reflected. The architect document, the solution document, the design document, and so on and so forth. Normally, HLD creator labeled in IT fraternity as solutions architects. But if you've seen today's thought process or today's evolution of a role, these are the BAs who know solution architecting up to a great level, right? So this is a kind of attracting seniority to your role, and this is how, if you you'll, I know you will improve on job. So that way, the more you could put your efforts in HLD, the more your seniority comes to your way, and this is how you become a noticeable phenomenon within your organization. Creator, designers, and developers as far as LLD goes, because those guys create, those guys develops those things, those guys implement those things, actual productions, elements as per the HLD's diagrammatic representation. Okay. Normally they say input SRS, but now it's included in SRS, and this is included, the LLD is included in the FRS and the other documents. Okay. Now HLD might have a design of database, functional design, review record, yes, functional design yes, database design maybe, because now previously, if you look at the design diagrams, let's say 10 year before, like say in 2000, even 1990s, they were transactional system mostly, so the database design was more crucial there. But nowadays, database is just another entity of architecture. We've reduced the database design, and now database also kind of distributed database on cloud. So you don't store everything on single database. Database is where we store the data, where the Excel sheet resides, right? Those scenario. So we normally replicate this database. So in case if one server, one computer fails, we have another server to create, connect to, so that my application will be on 24/7, 365 days. And those kind of service level agreement I can easily achieve now, because my database is scattered or distributed across server. So even one server fails, I have my data saved on others, buffered on others, which can be accessed, and my website, my mobile app, or my solution is up and running all the time, and it's serving globe overall. It can serve somebody in Japan, it can serve somebody in Africa, it can serve somebody in Canada, or even for that matter Greenland, and those high Arctic areas as well. So those kind of global deployment I'm looking at as far as solution as of today goes. Any confusion here? Anybody want to ask anything?
I'm good. You explained it very nicely.
Oh, thank you. thanks. Okay, let's go to now ER diagram. This is another pain in wrong place. Why I'm saying this, because these are again kind of we are trying to design database, we are trying to understand how the data is deployed. What do you mean by entity relationship? We have understood a cell, right? Column crossing row is a cell. That's a single data entity. Now there are such entities called table, called column. Table is sheet, column is vertical, column in my database, column in my table, row is my row in my table, row in my sheet, right? So let's try to understand database as a very effective way of storing Excel data. Let's not go into level of Excel, the way Excel, we had a look at Excel sheet, right, in depth. Now think database as a really fast accessing Excel sheet, and you don't have to use Excel program. There are various means and ways to access those data. It's called sequential query language, SQL. I had that slide somewhere. I don't know. Okay, let me do this thing first. Okay, ये ER मैं थोड़ा बाद में डाल देता हूँ. हाँ, okay, SQL के बाद में चाहिए यार. ठीक है. Okay, let me check the. Okay, so we'll have a look at ER, a kind of latter part of today. Let's try to understand work breakdown structure. We've seen activity diagram, right? Everybody could recall activity diagram?
Yeah.
Making tea and all those things, right? So there's another, really, this is great, things to learn, called work breakdown structure. What I do with work breakdown structure is basically try to understand the efficiency, the estimation part of the overall solution. Okay, this is again great to have tool, really easy to learn, And it's really simple. This will improvise your life. This will improvise your overall thought process. Believe me. Now WBS is basically basic important project management tool set, and this is in existence or in usage from good old days. So it's like almost 18th century and so on and so forth. So what we try to create, we break down the work structure. So when I say I want to make a tea, I'll break down step first. I need to pick up the pot, so I'll put the pot wherever I get up in the morning or wherever I enter the kitchen. So pot put karke, I'll just drop in, take the water, or I put the pot besides the tap. So whenever I get up in the morning, I'll just wash the pot, pour in the water, and put it on the gas. So these things should be as fast as possible, right? So this is how the human evolves. This is how we build efficiency in our working. So we use something like work breakdown structure. You use it, but you don't really call it that. And this terminology does matter whenever you do analysis, right? So this is kind of one of the most old analysis tool we use. So we try to break down our work. We try to imagine our work. How can I improve? How can I make it better? Why should I put the gas near the table or the pot near the tap, so that whenever I get up in the morning, I don't want to search for the pot, right? अगर सुबह सुबह मैं बर्तन ढूंढने लगूंगा चाय के लिए, so यार ऐसा, it's really bad thing, right? So I'll try to make my life easy. So I'll put tea powder also near my gas, or the sugar, or whatever I like. Even that ginger powder, rather than grating the ginger in the morning. Because morning में क्या रहता है, you are really lazy. You try to spend much time in getting actually up and running, those kind of processes. Your body also tries to wake up and all those things. Your nerves are also slow because the reactions are really coming slow. So what do? You normally put everything together and let's get the tea done as fast as possible. So whenever I drink tea, I feel energized, right? Whenever I drink coffee, I feel energized. So those kind of scenario. So how I do it, I'll apply a work breakdown structure. I'll see to it how I can improve my tea making process with lesser time and more effectively. So I should have the best possibility in the world in the least possible time. That's my thought process. That's how I evolve, right? So I want to build a product, a result, service that can be predicted accurately, built quickly, right? So there's a process of estimation, there's a process of improvisations, continuous improvisation, and that's how we use the work breakdown structure. So we assign elements to WBS to any project activity or a product activity, right? So I list those activity, I break down those activity in a smaller part, I try to improvise it, I try to make it more efficient. That's the whole ball game of WBS. It's an older tool, yeah, we talked about this space, mostly used for analysis and estimation and schedule and work planning. Okay, let's try to watch this video. It's really simple thing, and believe me, this will improve your overall day-to-day thinking, so that we can understand everything much better.
In this video,
Wait. Let me share this. Okay, so I'll stop this share. I'll share again.
to answer the question, what is a work breakdown structure?
Could you hear his voice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or WES. A work breakdown structure is quite simply a tool that breaks the work down into a structure. Let's say a little bit more about this though. The work breakdown structure is the principal tool that articulates the scope on our project, and it does so in a highly structured way. At its simplest, we take the entire work of the project itself, and we break that down into a number of substantial chunks. We then take each of those chunks of work and we further break it down into its principal components. And each of those principal components gets further broken down until we end up at the lowest level of the hierarchy with individual tasks or activities that the person who will carry them out recognizes as a single coherent task that they fully understand. Now, the representation I've put on the screen is very useful for understanding the work breakdown structure, but it's absolutely rubbish for representing it across a large project. It will just rapidly get out of hand. And so what we actually do is we number across the principal activities. And then for each thing that flows from those activities, we give it a sub-numbering system. And so we end up with a comprehensive list of every activity that's done with the scope of the project. And the proper way to plan projects is to develop your work breakdown structure before you start thinking about dependencies and sequence, which will of course give you your network chart, or elapsed times for each of the tasks, which will allow you to draw up your Gantt chart. The best way to produce a simple work breakdown structure if you're working on a small project is with a word processor tool like Microsoft Word. If, on the other hand, you're working on a larger, more rigorous project, then you will no doubt have some form of project management software that will allow you to capture every activity, allocate reference numbers to them, and create your work breakdown structure as a preliminary step to producing your network chart, your critical path, and your Gantt chart. Tools such as Microsoft Project are designed to do this. A good work breakdown structure will be MEES, M-E, and that stands for mutually exclusive and completely exhaustive. That is to say, mutually exclusive, each task is clearly distinct from each other task. There is no overlap between the tasks. And completely exhaustive means that everything you need to do on your project is covered on your work breakdown structure. The thing that many project managers miss out of their work breakdown structure are all the tasks and activities concerned with managing the project. So as a matter of habit, I will always create one work stream, one major area of work on my work breakdown structure labeled project management. That way I capture all the tasks it takes to manage a project, and then when I start budgeting the project and allocating resources, I have those tasks ready to budget and resource. And that ensures that I don't forget project management activities, and I've got the budget and the resources to carry them out properly. I'm going to end with what is sometimes perceived as a bit of a rant. It's about the difference between the UK approach to work breakdown structure on the one hand and the US approach on the other. Neither is right. But here's the rant bit. One of them is a little bit more right than the other. So, in the UK, our work breakdown structure is written as a set of activities or tasks. If you're a linguist, then you can think of them as verbs. The US approach is to break down the work by breaking down the deliverables or the products of your project. So at the top level, you have the completed project, and at subsequent levels below, you have more and more detailed descriptions and smaller components of the product set you need to create. In the UK, we would call that a product breakdown structure. Both of them will give you the right results. So why do I prefer the UK approach? Well, because it's a work breakdown structure that breaks down work. If you want a product breakdown structure, and oftentimes you will, then you can create a product breakdown structure in parallel. And because a Gantt chart and a network chart are about activities, to me, it makes more sense to develop a work breakdown structure in terms of activity or work.
At the end of the day, we just want to learn how to break down, call it activity, product, or projects, right? We want to understand how we can improvise. So we are at a visionary level. Let's not go into, this different maramari of UK versus US and all those things. We normally are in US, so we will basically stick to the product breakdown structure, PBS or WS, whatever you called it. In US, everything is called as WBS. So let's not get bogged down by such linguistic or such visualization of the European personalities.
But whichever approach you choose to adopt, my tip is to adopt one approach and not to try to mix the two. That way lies madness. So a work breakdown structure is a simple, powerful tool that far too many project managers put to one side and don't apply. It's a tool that enables you to fully articulate your scope of work. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And why not hit the notification bell?
So again, let me start the share. Very well. Okay, so we had a look at the work breakdown structure. Let's try to understand, in depth what is work. We normally try to segregate, try to break down the activities, work, or a product, which is a definable, right? Which is a definable entity. Like we talked about iris scanner implementation. So what are things we need in iris scanner implementation? So we need something like the actual system. We need something like connectors. We need something that will basically interface between the iris scanner and the actual servers, the systems, the computers, right? So these three things I clearly comes to mind. So first I'll have something like procuring iris scanner. That's another work which has been break from one of my HLD conceptual blocks of implementing the scanners. It can be body scanners, it can be iris scanners, and there could be other scanners as well. So my first level is implementing biometric scanner in my HLD, which is broken down into implementing iris scanner, which can be further broken down to implementing the Philips iris scanner at 6 entry points in office in Abana Champagne. Let's talk about that. So what I do, I normally procure these 6. So there will be another, activity which I have broken down, procure 6 Philips iris scanner. Try to or plan the implementation or fitting of these iris scanner as those 6 entry point in office in Abana Champagne. Then just, to next to that, I'm going horizontal now. So it's like, 1.1.1, 1.1.2, 1.1.1 is my procuring Philips iris scanner, 6 Philips iris scanner. 1.1.2 is after implement design scanner at 6 different gate in my Urbana Champagne office of State Farm, right? 1.1.3 could be connect this iris scanner after implementation to the servers, to the systems by cable, by wireless, or whatever I want to I have decided. So connect this thing to the server. 1.1.4 could be test the implementation and share the result with the team. So I have broken down my activity of implementing iris scanners to 4 to an actual implementation, and then I can think about improvising it. Okay, this is the thought process which basically gives WBS a really manageable work scope and schedule planning, right? So this is a really meaningful unit of work, whatever I have devised out of my vision, out of my solution planning, right? And then I can clearly specify the responsibility of each and every person, each and every entity in my project, solution, or support, so that they're really going to a granular level and understand their work in detail, right? So a technician can get his work well within advance, saying he want to implement or he want to connect the iris scanner of door number 3 to the server. So he will do it within a day's time. And that's the overall beauty of WBS. We normally plan the work in hours in the least elements. Let's not go to the estimation part of it, but I'm an estimator, so it's really great to understand why we use WBS and why we basically go to this 4 level or 3 level WBS. This is called 3 level WBS. So first level is my HLD, second level is basically going n-level details. Like implementing scanner can be one entity in my HLD. I have to, try to zero down to implementing iris scanner in my second level, and third level is basically actual implementation, actual connection, and actual work happening, right? So those scenarios. So this is how I am planning my work. This is how I'm estimating my work to a maximum 8-hour shift. And then each of these blocks are independent. So, or they are dependent in some ongoing elements, ongoing activities. Like if you don't procure iris scanner, you couldn't implement, right? So those kind of scenario. But I had to make it distinguishable, clearly distinguishable entities from other work packages, right? Now, how to have integration works, right? Integration is basically you combine all these things to form an entire project, and with these actual deliverables, I can plan it day by day, date by day, time by time also. So the planning is really effective and measurables whenever you have this WBS in place, right? So I can really measure my tea making process if I have a WBS chart in front of me. Okay, so this way it's really build the efficiency, build the thought process of making it more effective, making it more easier day by day, and that's how it's really adaptable. It's really liked by quite a few people whenever you learn this technique. So try to understand the WBS from an angle of a simple thing called making tea, WBS. So on the top, I have something like making tea element. Then just below that, I have, let's say, the steps which we have taken as an use case, right? So first step is collecting pot, getting water, putting the pot on a stove, lighting the stove, putting tea powder, and so on forth. So there will be around 6 to 7 entities in my second level. On my third level, I'll basically do a sequential execution, right? So whenever the tea is boiled, I'll filter it in a cup. I'll put some sugar if I have not put it earlier. I put some milk if I haven't put it, whenever the pot is on a stove, and so on and so forth. So for each and every step, I can count, right? Because getting a tap water will hardly take 20 to 30 seconds. Boiling the tea will take the maximum time. Filtering tea is also another second. Boiling might take another 5 or 6 minutes, but I still can effectively plan that boiling. So boiling tea is my critical task, which takes maximum time, right? Which actually depends the length of a overall my product work, or my work actual length, duration or schedule depends on that criticality of the tea. So if I boil tea longer, it lengthens the process, but the quality improves if I like really strong tea. So those kind of scenario, these kind of thing I can analyze whenever I understand. I build a WBS for such simple processes. Have you understood what I'm trying to say here? Any confusion, questions at this moment?
Can you explain one more time this integration means?
Okay, it's basically integrates the overall elements together. It talks about the integrity, right? So at the end of the day, you're getting tea, right? For tea, you're utilizing at least 6-7 elements. You're using pot, you're using water, you're using gas, you're using the tea powder, ginger, sugar, milk, and all those things. All this mixed together makes my tea. So unless and until all these elements are with me, the integration won't happen. So there is a dependency and there is a sequential execution. These two interact at the integration process. So just think it as an integration or combining these element type of scenario. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So bringing all the elements together, combining it and making it a report or making a chart, something like that.
Sure. Making chart, is that's your work you're talking about? Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I was talking about making tea. I was talking about implementing iris scanners. That's my result, what I wanted, right? And I've broken down this product, service, or whatever you want to call it, into elements where I can manage. I can think clearly of each of these elements. That's the whole motto of WBS. It's a simple thing, simple tool. But if you can really understand this, there are almost around, I think, 3,000 doctorates on WBS. And there are quite a few guys who are really doing PhDs on WBS, even now. It is such a simple and delicate task, simple and life improving task, believe me. And if you're a computer science student, you might Google these things and try to read a couple of abstract. It's really great reading if you like reading. Pardon me, these are like really great things, and we should learn this, and it should really include in your life so that you can improve your life day by day.
Okay, so
And that's all the whole matter.
WBS, let's start from the first. Defining means we are defining what the solution or what's the solution of the problem we are going to find it out.
Right, we are breaking it
We are
down to
breaking
smaller
it.
entities. Right,
Managing means we are collecting the resources or responsibilities, how we are going to find the solution.
to the manageable level. Right.
To the manageable, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And independent means single control account means assigning the responsibilities to different people.
Mm-hmm.
No,
No, not people. We are talking about, okay, resources can be people. You're right on that scenario. But overall, we are talking about something like, activity and a whole, right? So we discussed about something like making a tea. So that pot is also a resource. That water is also a
Okay.
resource.
Okay,
So,
collecting the resources.
right, together,
Okay.
collaborating them.
Collaborating them, okay. And measurable means we will taking the necessary measures to process our suggestions. I mean, whatever program we are going to implement, we are going to we are going to go towards the progress of that thing.
Right, measurable, I talked about the tea. If you want strong, you need to boil a bit
Yes.
longer, and you need some more tea powder, right? Normally a cup to a spoon is a normal standard format, but if you want stronger, you can have 2 cups with 3 spoons of tea powder and boil it for 6 to 7 minutes, so that it will be more stronger. So it depends on how you want the product, which quality, quantity, and then you measure it in duration, schedule, and scope.
Okay, and adaptable means eliminating or editing additions of the resources to complete our project.
Yeah, you're adapting to the situation. Let's say if I'm on a strong tea, right?
Yes.
So I'll tweak it my processes, tweak it my breakdown to a level where I can get a strong tea, and then I'll also measure my critical task. I talk about critical task is a task who basically can delay the whole stuff.
Okay.
So my boiling takes longer time, right? Longest time in the whole tea boiling process. So
Okay.
the way I build efficiency, I might put the flame on high. I might use a flat pan so that the pan can, get maximum heat from the gas and gets boiled earlier. So these are the measures and adaptability I use to make my product efficient, earlier, quicker, and with the optimum quality which I want to get delivered.
Okay.
So there are lots of underlined element within these 6 points we talked about. So don't get backward by this point. Try to understand from some simpler processes in life and try to make a WBS. And this is really
WBS
great
is also
learning.
a kind of a flow chart, or what is it? It's like a
It's a
theory.
tree, na, that guy just shown. There's a root elements, level 1, level 2, level 3. We normally go to level 3. That's the overall thing. Okay, let me get a next time I'll show you a video of how WBS works, or I'll jot down on. Okay, let me do it right now. Okay, let me open my Word and try to give you a WBS chart of tree mapping. It's really great, believe me. Means we learn a lot, and that's how we can improve our life. And you can try these things whenever you want to really understand WBS. And it's really what I can say, a long life what I can say, improvement scheme as well, for that matters. Okay, let me
Because
share
to
my
me,
Word.
it looks like WBS is a required, because when I was placing the candidates, there was always a saying looking for the candidates with WBS framework experience. So
Right. Because philosophically, like I said, now many of these guys, they have some favorites, right? This
yeah.
WBS. So let's try. My prime element is making, making tea. Could you read this? Okay,
Yes.
okay. You can see making tea, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is my level 1. So I'll say LEV level 1. Okay. And then what I'll do, I'll create an arrow from here to here, and then I'll have 3 another boxes. 1, 4. So I can have as many as I want. I'll have this 4 box and I have an horizontal line here. This I'm using the word draw element, right? So it's simple, everybody has it. So you can also try this thing. It's really simple and it's really, you know, where's the other arrow? Okay, I got it. Okay, now yeah, you sort of, you know, it's got some thoda upar niche ho gaya. So please pardon me with my artistic skill. I'm not an artist. I try to cope up with life. Okay, now when I say I am making tea, so I'm say COLECTING, collecting water in POT. So यहाँ पे I have 2 elements, right? I am collecting CO. Okay. Collecting water in pot is one of my activity, right? Then BOIL, boil, WATER, boil water, add T, WDER, tea powder, boil, AGAIN again, right? Now, if you go here, I need 2 another elements to this guy. So I'll just okay, another thing, I can group these things, right? So this I can right click, come on, I'll group this. So what group does, I can copy this and I can paste this. Now I can move this together. I can paste again. So I can move this together. So if I have 2 activities, I can do this faster. Okay, so collecting water in a pot. So come on, can I? Okay. There are 2 things. No, okay. Get water can be one, get pot can be other. So I have to have 2 resources here, right? To collect water in a pot. And I'll have to have another arrow from here. Now, as you can see, making tea, I'm collecting water in a pot, and there are 2 things which I do. I need to get water and get pot. So to get water, it hardly takes few minutes. To get pot, it hardly takes another few minutes, right? So I can schedule and time these things. How I'll improve? I'll put the water. I will, put the pot near the tap, right? I get, if I use tap water, I put the pot near the storage of water, so that my work in the morning can be get reduced, can be effectively planned well in advance, and can be build in efficiency into that working. Have you got this WBS thing? Now again, I forgot to label. This is my 1.1, this is my 1.2, this is my 1.3, this is my 1.4. Now this is my 1.1.1. This is my 3rd level of WBS. I normally go to 3rd level. I can go to the 4th level or 5th level as well. But normally, depends on the complexity, I normally go to 3rd level, which I can complete within 8 hours. That's the standard practice followed all across the world. Any confusion, any questions for me at this moment?
No.
Anybody else?
I'm good. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Yeah, we are good.
Great, no problem. So I believe, could we, try something like this, by yourself? This again, it's a simple thing. You feel it simple, but don't ignore it as you feel it simple, because there are things which you feel simple, but when you try to do, you might, spend around half an hour in thinking how to do it. This thing happens quite a few times in our life. So try to do this thing, because you'll get a clear hang what you're trying to do, right? And how to improve your working day by day. That's the whole ball game of this WBS. Okay, so I've just saved these things, and try to think out any process or any any give me a minute, please. Hello, good morning, doctor. थोड़ा एक 15 मिनट लेट होगा, चलेगा? I'll be there, doctor. Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Sorry, it's a call from my dental dentist. He preponed my need. Okay, no problem. So so try to build a WBS so that we can understand how we can improve our thing, right? How we can improve our workings. Now there are quite a few another visual modeling tools we have, right? And how we use it, how we implement it depends upon us. So whenever you join any company, if not Infosys, any other company, and there you learn how to, they will train you, of course, on how to use those tools which they used as an day-to-day what you can say, oh come on, okay, day-to-day improvement of the BA's life, or day-to-day improvement of their overall project life cycles. Okay, so project life cycle is about the overall description of various tasks for a creation of a project, deployment of a product, or deployment of a product for that matters. So it can be something like requirement gathering, it can be something like designing, it can be something like development, and it can be something like testing, it can be something like deployment. Okay, so these are standard tasks in a given project, product, or services. So we try to build visual models for the for any representation, like we talked about activity diagram, use case diagram, LLD, HLDs. These are all visual modelings. Now whatever tools you use, you can use something like Visio, you can use pen and paper. Now there are various ways and means of doing visual modeling, right? So please don't worry if you know one tool to other. If you have a favorite one to other, try to master yourself as well, so that whatever you think in terms of visioning, whatever you think in terms of representing your thoughts, is the most important part of the visual modeling. So there could be a number of tools, there could be new tool coming down the line 6 months. So it's the organizational responsibility to a BA to teach him or her the tools required for the job. So please don't bothered by the new tool, or if anybody want to tells you this tool, that tool, and let's learn this, let's learn that. Let's not go there. Let's try to understand what I can do best, right? And trying couple of things like use case is a basic, Excel sheet is a basic, and HLD in addition. If you can do these 3 things, it's more than enough for your job. It's more than enough for your interview. That's all I can say right now. Any questions here for me?
No.
No.
Okay, you understand, right? The basic BA workings, the basic BA what it does, right? Now let's go into a bit of technicality. There is something called sequential query language. I talked to you about this thing. Now what is sequential query language? We normally don't in an organizational in a corporate environment, we normally have a data to a magnitude of millions of rows and millions of columns. So how do you store that effectively? You store that in something called database. So we have Oracle database, we have Microsoft SQL database, we have MySQL database, Postgre, there are Ingress, there are so many databases available and evolved over the time, right? The famous one is Oracle, the famous one is Microsoft SQL, and now the most used is MySQL. So what is SQL? It's a sequential query language. These are the commands you give to a database to retrieve, update, modify, delete those cell. You know cell, right? And those cell are called entities. Entities in the sense, one record is a row, one column is basically type of selective entities. So when I say record, Ravindra Pandey's record, Ravindra Pandey's name, father name, mother name, address, phone number, email address, FB, link, LinkedIn link. This can be one row. And the column, I talked about first name, I talked about last name. These are the columns. This is a normal standard practice followed all across the world to have the data elements clubbed together and to access these billions and billions of data entities in nanoseconds, if not milliseconds. So the game here is to access the data, to modify, delete, update such data in the smallest possible time. So there's a standard language called sequential query language which you use. If somebody tells you as an analyst you need to know SQL, it's not a right statement as of now, because in the past 2 years we have really great tools at our disposal. So you don't have to know SQL, but there are some old project manager who might ask you certain sequential query language question. This is a possibility, and so that's why we need to get acquainted ourselves with some basic commands, but don't think it as a necessity as of now. The necessity is use case diagram, Excel sheet, HLD, and building communication in those good technical terminologies. That's all you need. Now, learning SQL, I want to spend some half an hour or so on this, because you shouldn't feel like अरे यार मेरे को ये पता ही नहीं है. So don't think in that lines, but still we'll understand how SQL get fit into the overall ball game of business analyst, right? So understanding SQL, there's a structure. Every SQL table database have a defined structure. It's called database schema. Now, what is a database? An Excel sheet or number of sheets can be a database. So a database is a collection of tables, collection of Excel sheet. Just to understand, these Excel sheets are called table. Every table has a name. Every table has rows, column, cell, or we call it record or entity, right? And then there are credentials. Credential means to access each and every the database, you have a strict login name, password, and other methodologies to prevent access to unknown entities or anonymous access. So these sequential query language database are normally protected by various credentials. They have extra layer of security for something like banking database, something like financial informations, and so on and so forth. And then there are queries. Queries means you sent a request to retrieve all the records of Ravindra Pandey to a database. That's a query. If you want to update the surname of Ravindra Pandey to anything, so you'll write a query. So these are the query or queries you write. You create this query and you execute on a database. So database is a selection of tables, selection of rows and columns. There are thousands and thousands of tables in a database which you can access in nanoseconds. That's the whole requirement of sequential query language. Some call it structured query language as well. So there are various labels and various calling names for this SQL, but it's normally called SQL. That's the over baseline. Any questions for this on this for me at this moment?
No. Okay.
So do we
I'll
need
explain SQL again in my next class, because this is not a need, but it's good to know. And this is normally spoken everywhere. If you meet any IT person, they talked about this SQL, the standardization and all those things. Okay. Now, how do BA use this thing? This query, BA used to write this. Sorry, go ahead, please.
So in Udemy, there is a SQL course. So is it advisable to take that, or we should leave that?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Okay, good. Really great question. And I get these type of questions in every training. If it's good to learn that, good to learn that. There are, if I really go by what is good to learn, there will be at least, if not, 1 million sort of trainings which I must take before starting my BA job. But should I do that? I'll not say yes, because see, you need certain basic entities to get started. And as an Indians, or as a human, we evolve whenever we start working. And I believe in your ability, I believe in your brilliance, I believe in your intelligence to learn many things as per your work environment rather than me teaching right now. That's why I clearly started my SQL saying this is not again a need. The need is use case diagram, need is Excel sheet, need is HLD, need is SRS, and need is improving communication. So if you can do these 5 things, you are a good BA. You don't need anything additional. Now,
Okay.
whatever we are learning is good to have. But if you spend too much time in good to have, then you will miss the basic entities, right? अगर चाय में चाय पत्ती नहीं है तो चाय नहीं बनेगी यार. पानी और चाय पत्ती तो बहुत जरूरी है, right? Could you understand me?
Udma, there is Excel course also, so I am taking that, and it's really good.
Again, we are revolving on the same terminology. It's good you're taking a course. It's good to learn always.
You mentioned no that Excel, you should be good in Excel. I'm not doing all of it, but what I believe is required for a BA, I'm just taking only like, okay, using the formulas, rows, columns, how to make the data. I have all those things. I'm just learning it from there.
Definitely. No, it will help you out. Nothing, learning is not bad. But thing is that, Usha, if you miss the, criticality or the basic element, then trainings can be good, best things. But this is like reading, right? If you are aligned, we are doing this to get a job, right? If you're aligned with your target, then it's really advantageous. But if you're really running stray, learning Excel is good. Means I totally appreciate you for that. And if you have time and efforts to do that, do it. And I really appreciate you taking extra effort to walk that extra mile, and it will definitely help you. But I would for all others as well, means I'll say let's just concentrate on whatever we're doing here, and this course is well thought of. Okay, so even if the technicality can bog you down, but try to understand the basic element, try to learn the basic elements which we discussed. So learning Excel is on that line, and I'll really I really like that you're doing it. So even others can do it, but you should have the time and energy to put in those efforts, right? Because if you learn these 4 or 5 basic elements for a BA, you're good to go. And then we'll learn whenever you join on a job, and I'm quite positive about that, right? So just if you can just do whatever we have discussed here, it's well and good, but please do that at least. Means build HLDs, build some WBS whenever you have time, and these are very simple things I'm asking. So hardly half an hour to 1 hour at the most of these homeworks will help you in very long term. So try to do these things, and if you do this, it will be more than enough. SQL, good to have. If there is any question, this is like going from 80% to 100%. So if you know SQL, you can go to 100%. But what we want to do to 100% right now, 80% right now. My target: get the interview cleared, join the work, and then learn or take training on whatever the work needs. So I can really save my efforts. I can really energize myself to learn the basic right now. So that's what I was talking about, Usha. So it's really great that you are learning, and I really proud of you for that basically. Okay, but for others, HLD is a need. Use case diagram is a need. Excel is a need, and try to do these things. WBS, it's really great to have. If you learn WBS, if you can understand WBS, you can improvise your life day in day out. So it's a really great thing. So to try to do these things, it will improve your life as well. Being BA is our aim, that's right. But being good human being, keep improving, that's also another really great thing to have. Okay. So sorry, thanks for that. Okay, let's come back to this. So please, my humble, anybody want to speak? Please go ahead.
What were the 5 things that we needed? HLD, LLD,
use case diagram, Excel sheet,
okay,
high level diagram, good communication, and some technical mumbo jumbos which we talked about. So watch these trainings if you have time, and you'll learn, because I keep throwing these big words in between. I believe you understood them, but even if not, you can watch this training again and you can learn them better. Okay, and try to improvise on something like WBS, something like building use case diagrams on whatever you like the most. in terms of activities, in terms of doing, so that you can improve that thing, you can improve your enjoyment in life. So that's also another, really good thing to have. Okay, don't try to learn something like SQL, because it's not a need now, because we have quite a good amount of tools available, and wherever you join, that organization has a responsibility to teach you those tools. So even learning that tool right away, even if I know if there are certain good tools, I'm stopping myself from there, because I don't want to unnecessarily lengthen this training. We have a 6 weeks duration, and let's complete our training, and let's try do some hands-on. Let's try to build some SRS. Let's try to build some good use case diagram, professional use case diagram. That's what I'm more interested in. Okay.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Rudra?
Yes. Well, will you provide the commands that we need to learn?
Come again, please. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Will you provide the SQL commands that we need to learn? Or
yeah. We coming to that. Okay. So let's let's try to understand how the analysis used to work in good old days. So we as in BA, we used to command these queries and execute on a particular against a particular database, and then we used to build reports. So these reports are like web pages we used to build, or these reports are like Word document or Excel sheet which we used to build. We used to build those good looking graphs from the data retrieved from a database, which is a kind of selective data, right? So if I want to have something like high performing students from a database of let's say New English High School, I'm just taking any name at this moment. So for that, what I'll get access to New English High School student records, and then I build a report of a student who really excelled in their career, and then try to analyze how they excelled in their career. Do they have much greater marks? Do they have much greater extracurricular activities? So how their life was planned? Where were they staying? Are they staying in some good locality? Are they staying in bad locality? So I am trying to analyze the data by pulling the data out of database, getting it in an Excel, trying to create some good pie chart, good pivot tables and all those things. So this is really going to that's how I used to do it in good old days, like before 10 years or 15 years before today. So I'm talking about 90s and 2000s, those decades, right? So that how we used to build reports and present it to senior management when they say, I want a high performing student report from New English High School. Now for that, what are the English commands you need to have? You need to have something like select, create table. अरे यार, फिर से बीच में आ गया क्या? Okay. Okay. So let's try to understand SQL. It interacts with the database. It's a kind of software, which is a software product. Like we talked about Oracle, Microsoft SQL, MySQL. These are the products already improved, evolved, and we access this product with some credential. So like user ID, password, and then you have mobile OTP sent to you if the database is too secure, and then you enter these things in login, you get connected, and you use these SQL language commands to retrieve data. So we'll see the commands also, but just to understand the environment first. These are also called relational database management. So what is relational database management? Relational database management is basically a database management with relational system, relational standard norms, and the database management systems allows a user which have a specific credentials to get this data in the quickest possible way with certain commands, with certain probabilities, with certain combination of commands. With certain combination of commands is a program. So you write a program in SQL and you execute at once, so that the data comes to you at once within milliseconds, and you get that data in CVS or XLS format. Open the Excel sheet and present it in good colorful way. Okay, SQL is complete text. Complete text in the sense whatever you retrieve is in a textual format. Even that image comes to you as a file. If there's an image or a movie in the database, it comes to you as a file, and the database doesn't care what you have as a name, what you have as an image, what you have as a file. So database is just a blank table or a black cupboard where you stored your entities like tables, rows, columns, and the cells, right? Have you understood what is database?
Yep.
Can anybody explain me in his own words what is database?
Yeah, I can try.
Please, please.
Yeah, so database is something like where we store our, the rows, column, and actually not a store. I mean, it's like when we make like some data, it's like your rows, column, and something like that.
Uh-huh. Good. That's what I was looking for basically. So it's just a storage unit where I stored all my tables, column data, and all those things, right? So it has many many components associated with it. So it's called a table which stores rows and column, and that's the standard format. Okay, and we access by selecting a table. Get is a select is a command, get is a command, update is a command, write is a command, okay, read is a command. So select table, school, select database, New English High School, select table, students, get name, get star from name. So star in the sense that's a wild card. I'm getting all the names from a table, from a database called New English High School, from a table named student name. So I'm getting all the names. So we use this combination. We'll see to that, right? Let's try to understand the hierarchy. So we have a database, then schema. There are various tables or views. Tables is an entity which actually created. Views is a superficial entity which is created, which basically have a part of a table or part of tables as an data already fetched for you. Indexes is basically list of tables aligned sequentially, and so on and so forth. Synonyms is basically synonyms means you normally have pre-cooked data for you. Procedure is basically a set of programs which already developed for certain queries you use regularly. So these are something. Don't get bogged down by these names or this really crucial word. Tables is what we are concerned about, and there are such many schemas in a database. So database is my super group. There are schemas, then there are tables, okay, for me to access the database entities, right? Let's okay, now the SQL entities thing again. Yeah, this ER thing. Okay, let's go ahead. So what is SQL entities? There are tables. These are called attributes. The column names are attributes, and then there is a row or triple. Nobody use triple nowadays. So there are rows and there are columns. Columns is date of joining is my attribute to a data 3rd June 2014. Now the course name was .NET, Java, and so on and so forth. The contact number is so on and so forth. So these are my attributes to a row, right? These are attributes to my cell, and so on and so forth. So this is how you look at the overall, SQL entity. Let's have a look at SQL Business Analyst video. I'll have that video for it. It's a good one. Just give me a minute. SQL Analyst. Where's that? Okay. Stop share.
Mr. Pandey,
Yeah, please go ahead.
if you need to go to the dentist thing, then I mean that's fine.
No problem. Just have a look at this video. This is really good, good to have. It's a bit lengthy. I think around 15 minutes or so, and we'll take the questions. I'm good in planning. So thanks for the concern, and please don't worry on that.
Okay, no worries.
SQL basics. But before we get started, let's have a look at the agenda for today's session. Finally, I'll end the session by what is SQL. Followed by that, we'll be looking at what is...
Could you hear him? Could you hear his voice clearly?
Yeah.
Yes.
data and database. Next up, I shall give a detailed explanation of a table. And finally, I'll end the session by discussing some SQL basic queries such as how to create a table, how to insert data into it, how to delete it, and many more.
So I'll share this video as well. And just to answer your question, these are the basic commands, which is good to know. Again, good to know if you want to play around. It's really, good tool. It's been there for almost 40, 60 years now with the IT fraternity, and it's evolved a lot. Okay, and then there are free databases available. There are, paid databases available, so on and so forth. But normally company, Infosys, they have Sybase and Oracle as their, basic database for their employees use and the project support. So you normally use this database as far as Infosys goes. So they'll not expect business analyst to a database programmer or database retriever guy. So you can request to a DB team. They call it DB team, database team. You can request them, "Key boss, I need students. I need the database part of a database of New English High School for a student who excelled in their marks, whose attendance was from this to that range, and please give me this data in Excel format." So they'll supply those things to you in Excel format. That's how it works in Infosys as of today. So those scenario. So we need to understand just how to create that request and get it processed for you by different teams. You don't write SQL queries nowadays. Okay, so just try to understand this thing.
So I hope the agenda is clear. But before moving forward, I would like to request all of you to subscribe to our Edureka YouTube channel to never miss out an update. So without any further delay, let's get started. So the first topic I'll be discussing in today's session is Introduction to SQL. In today's world, data is everything. But to manage it, one has to master the art of data management. To play with the data and database, we need to know the language that is understood by these databases. And that language is SQL. SQL is a core of relational type databases. Because of its huge popularity, it is used by most companies today worldwide. After understanding the basic introduction, the first question that arises in our mind is, what is SQL? SQL is an abbreviation for Structured Query Language. It is a language used to perform actions such as update, retrieve, manipulate, and store data on a relational database. Now that we have learned what exactly SQL is, let's see some of its interesting facts. Do you know when SQL was born? Well, let me answer that question for you. SQL was developed at IBM by Donald D. Chamberlain and Raymond M. Boyce in the early 1970s. It was initially called as SQL, that is Structured English Query Language. But later it was changed to SQL because SQL was a trademark of UK-based engineering company. SQL is said to be a powerful language. Reason for that is it uses very simple English sentences and also uses very few lines. It uses common words such as select, insert, update, and many more to perform its core functionalities. SQL is known to be a declarative language. When you write a query, you have to describe what needs to be done, and you don't have to worry regarding the flow of the query. It will be handled internally by the DBMS that you're using. Now, let's look at some of the features of SQL. So the first feature is SQL has well-defined standards. As it says, developers of SQL has clearly mentioned how exactly each and every query has to be written. There is no room for ambiguity when it comes to writing a query. The standards has to be followed. SQL is easy to learn. Yes, SQL is a language that is used to work with a database. Since SQL has a large user base as well as well-defined standards, for a beginner, it is really easy to learn. Next one is, in SQL, we can create multiple views. This is one of the unique and early features that SQL came up with. View is nothing but creating a virtual table. A virtual table is a temporary table for certain use. By doing this, we can protect the integrity of the data. SQL has the ability to not only create a single view, but can create multiple views. Finally, SQL queries are portable in nature. It means we can execute the SQL query in one system and execute the same query in another system without changing the format. But the condition is the environment setup of these two systems has to be same, else the SQL query won't be executed. So these were some of the features of SQL. Now let's look at.
So overall, what we talk about standardization across the platform, standardization across the team, standardization across the globe, so that once you write a query, it can be easily ported to different database. So be it Oracle database, be it a Microsoft database or MySQL database, the tweaking is hardly up to 5 or 6% at large. Okay, but still there's a bit of difference, and there's a bit of what you can say dependency on efficiency and overall cost versus cost versus efficiency overall. So that's what the overall things is to learn. But let's not go into the depth. Just try to understand on a superficial level how the database works, how the database was used to getting accessed or getting used by the BAs, and that's what the whole thing we want to learn about. Okay, any questions at this moment? Okay, I'll go
The next topic, that is data and database. Firstly, let's look at what is data. So the standard definition for a data is values from different sources which has been translated for some purpose. And this purpose can be anything. Source for the data can be like temperature reading, financial data, videos, blogs, text, etc. It goes on. In the end, it should make a meaningful sense. Only then we can consider it as a data. This image clearly depicts the different source of data. So we can clearly understand that the data source can be anything. Since we are clear about what data is all about, let's head to the next topic, that is, what is database? Firstly, let's look at the formal definition for a database. A database is an organized collection of data, where the data is stored and accessed electronically from computer system. To make you understand what it means, let me use an analogy to explain the concept of database. Consider a library. Usually, the library contains a huge collection of books of different genre. Here, the library is a database, and these books are the data. In the image, we can see a person performing an action on the data, and those actions can be like create, store, update, etc. When the user sends the instruction as well as the data, it will be stored inside the database after a certain process. And this entire process is bidirectional. That is, control flows on both the sides. Next, I'm going to talk about different types of databases. There are different kinds of databases that are in use today. And these databases are classified based on capabilities, features, functionality, size, and performance. So few of them are distributed database, object-oriented database, centralized database, operational database, graph database, cloud database, NoSQL database, and finally, relational database. Among these databases, the two popular types that are widely used are, first one, relational database, and second one, NoSQL database. Relational databases generally uses SQL language, and we're going to learn more about it in the coming modules. Moving on, let's look at some of the popular databases that are widely used today. So they are MongoDB, Postgres, Microsoft Access, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, and Oracle DB. These are the few popular databases that are used today. Each one of them has its own pros and cons. Since we have already started the topic of database, it wouldn't be fair to drop this topic abruptly. So I shall discuss a few basic database related queries. The first query is how to create a database. To explain this, let me jump into MySQL Workbench. This is the interface of MySQL Workbench. On the left side of the screen, we can see the database. In the center area, we are going to write our queries. At the bottom part, we are going to get the status of the query that has been executed. So you might wonder why I'm using MySQL Workbench for executing SQL queries. Well, SQL is a language that is used to communicate with the database, whereas MySQL Workbench is a database management system. So MySQL Workbench allows us to use SQL queries to communicate with the database. Can't we use other DBMS? Yes, we can, but the syntax of the queries may slightly vary. So let me explain you the first topic, that is how to create a database. And the syntax for this is create database are the keywords used to create a database. Followed by that, we have to specify the name of the database. Here, I'm using Edureka as a name for my DBMS. So let me select this entire statement and click on the lightning icon. So I can see at the bottom that the database with the name Edureka has been created. So let me refresh it. So we can see that the database with the name Edureka has been created. So the next topic I'll be discussing is how to delete a database. And the syntax for this is drop database are the keyword used to delete a database, and followed by that will be the database name. So let me select this entire query and click on the lightning icon. So we can see that the database with the name Edureka has been deleted. So these were the few queries related to database. The next topic that we're going to learn is table. So what is a table? A table in a database is nothing but a collection of data in a tabular way. It consists of rows and columns. The table contains data elements also known as values using a model of vertical columns and horizontal rows. The point of intersection of a row and a column is called a cell. A table can have any number of rows but should have a specified number of columns. To understand the concept of a table in a better way, let's look at the image. So the name of the table here is person. When we create a table, it has to have a name. A table without a name doesn't exist. So what is tuples? A single row of a table which contains a single record for that relation. Here, there are 6 tuples. Next is attributes. Features of an entity is called attribute. An attribute has a name and a data type. Here, there are 4 attributes. Those are ID, first name, last name, and date of birth. So I hope you have understood the concept of table. Let's now understand the table constraints. So what are table constraints? In simple words, it is a restriction that are specified by the user while creating a table. So you may wonder why these kinds of constraints are required. The answer for that is, even though a table stores the data, that data has to be of certain format. To ensure the data integrity, we use constraints. These constraints have to be decided during the creation of a table.
See, these constraints are normally used to make the data retrieval effective or efficient. So when you say I can retrieve the data in nanoseconds, this is because of this restraint, because Excel don't have any restraint. So everything is text in Excel. Over here, everything of these restraints make it effectively accessible or effectively efficient to access in nanoseconds of this data. And that's how we have restrictions like strings, characters, labels, numbers, or be unique, primary key and foreign key. These are the reference for a table to table relationships, right? So these kind of scenario. So understanding this gives you a clear idea how database functions, how tables, various tables, even they are in very large numbers, can be accessed by the SQL in matter of nanoseconds, right? That's how this system has been evolved. Okay, let's try to understand.
If you want to change the constraint, then
any questions? Again, this is not a need to know. This is basically good to know. So if you know it, it'll really improve your life. But if you don't remember, please don't worry, right? But yeah, if you can remember, can recall, it's really going to you're not going to be a database developer. That's what I mean overall, right? We want to be a business analyst, so you should know these things so that you can sit with a database experts in your organization whenever you have free time on job and learn these things anytime. But right now we have something called SQL, and we have something of that nomenclature of a table, row, column, cell, and something like relationship, primary key, foreign key. If you remember these things, that's more than enough for us. Okay, just have a look at this video to know what are things are there in a database, in a given database schema, or overall how a business analyst react to such terminologies.
We have to delete the table and then we have to create a new table using the new constraints. Few of the constraints that are used most of the times while creating a table are check, default, primary key, foreign key, not null, index, and unique. Since we have understood what table is, let's look at some of SQL queries related to the table. The first one is how to create a table. To understand this, let's head to the MySQL workbench. To create a table, we need an active database. Since we had deleted the previously created database, let me create the database once again. So we can see that we have a database with the name Edureka. So now let me create the table. And the syntax for creating a table is create table is a keyword used to create a table. Followed by that, we have mentioned the table name. We need to make sure that the table name is unique. Keep in mind that in a database, there cannot be two tables with the same name. Inside the table, we have declared the columns along with the data type, and we have to end the query with a semicolon. So let me execute this query. So we can see that the table EMP has been created. So the next query I'm going to discuss is how to delete a table. And the syntax for this is we should use drop table keywords to delete a table. And followed by that, we have to specify the table name. So let me select this entire query. And we can see that the table with the name EMP has been deleted. With all the basic introduction understood so far, let's now understand some SQL basic queries. Let me begin this by introducing the most basic and widely used query, that is select statement. And the syntax is select column name from the table name. We can specify the name of the columns that are present in the table. Also, note that if you want to display all the columns of a table, then use star operator. Now, let's jump into execution part. To explain the entire SQL queries, I'm using student table. And the student table,
this is software called MySQL Workbench, right? Here there's a way of writing a query, and this is what actually you type your query. So you say create CREAT data space database space edureka. So these are you're creating a database. Dropping is basically deleting a database. Okay, so create drop, create table called student, which will be included in the database. So there's a database is a superset, table is a subset, row and column is another subset. Okay, now when you say create table and these are the rows, these are the column names, but this is structure gets created when you say create table. Okay, and when you say student ID is your column name, first name in another column. So when I say student ID, not null, and auto increments is generated by the database itself, generated by the MySQL software by itself. So first will be 001, second will be 002, and so on and so forth. So then the first name varchar is basically character, so it can contain character as well as number up to a maximum length of 20. It can't go above 21. Otherwise you need to modify the structure of a table name student, right? So these are the things which have inbuilt to make it really efficient software to retrieve the data in a restricted scenario, right? And this is how the thing works basically.
has
And any question, confusion at this moment? Do you want to stop here? It's almost 9:30.
I can take a look at it later.
Yeah, I'll share this video on the group so that you can have a look at it, and you can complete it as well. It's almost another 15 minutes video now. So this is basically good to have, good to learn. I'll share this video as well as the video which we seen earlier. So have a look at this video whenever you have time. But please, as a humble request, create an HLD, because that will make sure what you have learned and how can I improve the overall experience of learning, right? So that's for me, that's for us to grow together. Okay, let's try to do that. Let's create an HLD, and if you have time, create a WBS of the activity which you like, right? We'll stop here right now so that we could be more in-depth BA than just a superficial BA. That's what I want. So really try to create a HLD as an homework. Try to create a WBS. You can use pen, paper, simple plain paper and a pen, and try to draw these things so that we can discuss this in next class. Today it's Monday, right? So next class will be on Wednesday, right? Monday, Tuesday, yeah, Wednesday. So let's meet again on Wednesday and let's try to understand how we can create HLD, how we could relate a business solution to be given to a problem. Okay, the best thing you can do, as we discussed that scenario many times, we are trying to build a attendance management system enhancement for a state farm. I work for Infosys, and the other parameters as we discussed earlier. So try to build an HLD. If you don't have anything else, you can build on these, and let's discuss this thing in the next session. Okay, any questions for me at this moment?
No.
Pavni, any questions for me?
No. Okay. Yeah, you're sending the video, right? So if I
Yeah, I'm going to share the video.
Yes. Tomorrow I'll listen this again, and yeah, I think I clear my doubts when I listen this again.
I couldn't hear. Could you please speak louder?
Oh yeah. You are sharing this video, right? Tomorrow I'll listen that video again and see. Yeah, somehow my
Yeah, the
doubts
SQL
will
thing, right?
clear
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
SQL will revisit again, no problem.
Yes. Yeah. I can
Don't
clear my
worry.
doubts.
Yeah.
What I
And
have
again,
that.
if I being you, I will not really, sweat a lot learning SQL. But if you want to learn, well and good, no problem. But it's not, BA don't use SQL nowadays. So please don't worry.
Okay.
Just I needed one information. Is there any place where we can practice these SQL things?
Yes. Okay. Hariha, that's really good question. Otherwise, you need to install SQL on your laptop or, computer. Man.
Yeah.
Okay, let me work on the logistic. Okay, right now just hold on to the SQL thing, and I'll see to it that how can I give you access to a database. Okay, so let's wait wait on the SQL front. Let's do the WBS and the HLD. HLD is a must. So unless you do HLD, I couldn't help you more to be a BA. So please spend some time, draw an HLD of whatever you like to do as a solution. Okay, and we'll take it further from there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, chalo. Thanks a lot. Good night, guys. Any questions for the at this moment? I couldn't hear you. Could you please speak louder?
She's, I think, they're talking within the family.
I still couldn't hear. Pardon me for that.
She's talking to her family.
Oh, sorry. Pardon me for that. No problem. Okay, sure.
Talking about Ladu's Diwali sweets.
Yeah. I know. There's a Bhai Duj there, right? Sorry. Okay. Please enjoy, guys. I'm sorry I kept you long enough, I believe. Okay, chalo. Good night. Have fun and share your fun moments with us. Will be lovely discuss. And please spend half an
Sorry, I'm
hour on.
sorry. Might be my voice disturbed you.
No,
I
no,
got
no.
some parcel from
There's
India
nothing called
just right
disturbance.
now.
We are learning, right? We are learning. So please don't
Yeah.
worry. And this thing happens as a family. Even I have family. You might have heard, my mom's and dad challenges. My doctor called. Pardon me for those disturbances. I shouldn't do this, but it happens. It's a part of life. So let's not worry too much, and let's concentrate on our efforts on learning and do our best as an BA. Okay, I'll request you on that. Chalo, thanks a lot for guys.
Bye.
And good night.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Good night.
Let's meet on Wednesday.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.